Hello friends, so today we're going to be talking all about when is the right time to buy. I get this question so often, and I'm going to go into a couple different things to help you understand when the best time for you to buy a home is. Let's get right into it. Today we'll cover the seasonal markets and what happens during each part of the year. We'll also cover the different circumstances that might be going on in your life to consider. And then we'll also talk about the process for buying a home and what to know so you know when to get started. Now, let's talk about those seasonal changes. April through July are the hottest months of the year for real estate. They're when most people are out looking and most people are out selling because it's getting warm. People are excited about the summer. If you are selling, you want to be in your new home so that you can enjoy the summer, and if you're buying, you want to be in your new home so you can enjoy the summer. And especially in New Jersey, because we do have all four seasons here, so people don't tend to like to go out in the cold and the snow to buy a home, those April through July months are very popular. Now, when we hit August and September, things start to slow down. If people have families, the kids are going back to school, it means people are busier, the kids are in school, there's just more to manage, so people are not able to go out looking as much as they can during the summer. And for sellers, if you've been on the market for a few months, maybe you're getting a little bit more motivated if you weren't able to sell during the summer, which for buyers means that you might actually be able to negotiate a little bit better. There's not as many buyers out, so sellers might be a little bit more willing to negotiate with you, which is always a good thing. Now we hit October, November, things start to get a little cooler, both outside and in the market. So November, December, we have lots of holidays. People are very busy. It gets colder, as we said. There's snow on the ground. It's just not as busy. People don't want people coming into their homes when they're getting ready to host and gather. They're out buying gifts for all these holidays and enjoying their time. So there's not as many people that are willing to put their home on the market. And then also the number of people looking is fewer for the same reasons. Again, if you are having to sell during this time and you are having to buy during this time, it could create a great situation for both the buyer and the seller. We actually have the most home closings in the month of March, and then the second most popular closing month is May, which does make a little bit more sense. But I think with March, what we see is people that have to and are out during the winter, they're serious. If you're selling during the winter, you're serious. So we have a lot more closings that happen during that time, and sometimes we have houses that have sold in the fall that maybe take a little bit longer to sell. Once we hit January through March, things start to pick up. We start to see a little bit more action. People are out right after the new year looking for a home, and that's also contributing to why we see a lot of closings in March, considering it takes about 2 or 3 months to buy a home. So you see that cycle is really very consistent, except I will say that during the last 2 years, we've seen a lot happen that is not typical. We have a low inventory housing market. We have a lot of buyers out looking. Millennials are in their prime home buying years and they are excited to buy a home, although they're getting priced out of a lot of markets, but this is what we see happening. So it is a little bit atypical. Housing numbers, the prices are very, very high. Interest rates are low, although we might see a change in that soon. I'll probably make a video for you about that. So there's a lot more competition. People are bidding over list price. So maybe if you're a buyer who could afford $500K, maybe now you have to be looking at $450 because you might have to overbid, which obviously changes the type of house you might be able to get. So that leads us into identifying the different circumstances that might exist in your situation to determine what the best time is for you to buy. First up is your family situation. Maybe you're getting married, or maybe you're moving in with someone and you want to buy a home. Maybe you're retiring, maybe you're getting a divorce, maybe you're adding a baby or 2 babies to the mix. These are the different circumstances that people might have going on in their lives that would change their situation and make them want to buy a house or buy a bigger house or a smaller house. I will say it's helpful to look at these circumstances at least 6 months before they happen. If you know you are going to get pregnant in the next year, you might want to think about that now before you're even pregnant, so that you're not pregnant trying to find a home, or maybe the baby's already here or coming in less than a month and you're stressed out and you're not feeling well, or maybe the baby's already here, like I said, and there's just so much going on. Having a plan ahead of time is always my preference. I am a planner. always, always, always will be. And I recommend it if you're looking to buy a home at least 6 months to a year before a situation might change. So if you are retiring, maybe you might want to think about, where do I want to go? Do I want to be closer to family or friends or my grandkids? Maybe I want to be closer to the beach. Maybe I want to move out of the country completely. These are all things you can talk about with a realtor, and they can help you identify what people in your situation have done to help you figure out what the best thing is for you. In this category, I'll also mention the financial piece is huge, right? If you are thinking about buying a home, there's a lot of expenses that go into it, not just the down payment, but closing costs, maybe repair costs. And let's face it, it is expensive to buy a home. Even if you are ready and you are prepared financially, there are things that are going to come up. So having the conversation with a realtor or a lender or a financial advisor, again, 6 to 12 months before you want to do these things, is going to save you time and headaches when it actually comes time to do it. Keep in mind that your credit score determines your interest rate, which then determines your monthly payments and how much you put down, how much savings you have to put down. And all of those things kind of go together to help us figure out what you can afford. Even though people tend to want to not pay attention to any of the financial pieces of it, it's important to do that ahead of time. And if you're changing jobs, let's say maybe you're going from one law practice to another, or maybe you're working in a hospital and then you're moving to a private practice. These things are going to also contribute to what you can afford. If you're making $40K and all of a sudden you start making $140, that's really great, but you're gonna need time in that profession, in that particular job, to actually be able to use that as salary income to buy a house. You can't just start making that and a month later all of a sudden think that you're gonna be able to buy a house. You have to be in a career for at least a year, and you need to be in the current position for at least 6 months if it's a different position but within the same career. There's lots of questions and lots of things we could go over. I'm not going to go into every detail, of course, but again, you can always let me know if you have a question. Leave it in the comments below. I'll answer it, I promise. These are just little things to consider when you're looking at when is the right time for you to buy a house. And lastly, we're just going to briefly go over how long it takes to buy a house. So I'm going to link a video up here that's the entire home closing process, which I won't go into here. But just generally speaking, once you find the house you love and you put in an offer and your offer gets accepted and you're under contract, it's going to be about 60 days, at least here in New Jersey anyway, until you're able to close on the home and you own that home and you can move in. Now, how long does it take to look for a home? That really depends on your situation and how picky you are and how much is available on the market. And we know right now, as I said, inventory is very low. It could be a couple weeks or a couple months. It could also be 6 months. I definitely have some buyers right now who have been looking for quite a long time, 6+ months. And that's because inventory is tight and the competition is high, and maybe they don't want to crazy overbid, so they are waiting for another home to come up. Now, we don't know what the market's going to look like tomorrow or next month or next year, and so your circumstance might determine when you have to buy, of course, based on all the things we talked about. But generally speaking, about 3 months to buy a home, from the time you start looking to the time you close on the house and have the keys in your hand. But I always recommend 6 months to 12 months out, talking to a realtor and maybe even a lender, financial advisor, to make sure your situation is the way you want it to be, so that if you do have some tips from these people, you can implement them early enough so that when you're ready, you don't have to worry about waiting another 6 months, because now you have all the tools at your disposal and you have made all the decisions to help bring you to the closing table as fast as possible. There you go. I hope this was informative. If you have any questions or other suggestions for videos, leave a comment below. Hope you're all doing well. Be kind, and I'll see you soon.